Hey, hi, and howdy, sweet friends. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you're new and this is your first time here. My name is Courtney. I am a stay-at-home homeschooling mom, and I focus on food and kitchen-related content. You can catch grocery hauls every week, what's for dinner videos, holiday cooking videos, meal prep videos, all that kind of fun stuff. So if you like that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stick around. This week, I had originally planned to use leftover brisket for all of our meals, but the brisket was a lot smaller than the ones I normally cook with, so that just did not work out at all. There wasn't enough to make all the meals. We enjoyed brisket over the weekend, and then I had enough left to make 2 meals. So we're going to start off with this easy Southwest breakfast bowl. I have made this before. I kind of do it a little differently with whatever I have on hand every time. And you don't have to use leftover brisket. You could use it if you have it, or leftover roast, or leftover pork roast. You could use bacon or sausage. You can use any kind of meat you have on hand, or just go, vegetarian and don't add any meat at all. I started off with some of those simply potatoes, and I added in a couple of poblano peppers that I diced up. You could do jalapenos if you want to. I really like the flavor of poblano peppers quite a bit without like too much of the heat. That way everybody in my household can eat this without any issue. And I also added in 1 diced onion. I added some salt and some pepper, some garlic, and some onion powder. And I did use garlic oil to cook these potatoes, but you could just use regular olive oil. I just add it to the butter to keep it from burning. Butter helps to brown the potatoes more and add more flavor, but it will burn. And so I always add in some kind of olive oil or something with it, just so that the butter doesn't burn while I'm cooking this. We're gonna cook these potatoes for a while. You can see I'm starting to develop some color there, and we want a lot of that color. That color is such beautiful, amazing flavor, and its texture, because the potatoes are getting crispy and delicious. We just want to kind of keep cooking these, and I like to move them around a lot because I don't want like burn spots or anything. I leave them long enough to start to brown a little bit, and then I move them. So like every 2 minutes or so, I start tossing them around, and you can see they've cooked down considerably, and most of them have developed quite a lot of color there. So I just put some refried beans on the bottom of the bowl. I added my potatoes and my poblano peppers and onions. I topped it with the leftover brisket and 2 fried eggs. You can add a cheese if you want to. You could add in pico de gallo or salsa. You can add in extra meats. You could do chorizo, kind of whatever you want. But the peppers, the onions, and the potatoes as your base on top of the refried beans with the meat is just key. It's kind of like a breakfast bowl that I get from a local place called Rosa's. It's a Texas Mexican food chain, and those breakfast bowls are amazing. So this was my take on it. All right, on to the next meal. We're going to make some tamales. I make these a couple times a year, and we really enjoy them, especially at Christmas time. Tamales are really big for Christmas down here in Texas. I'm starting off by making the masa, which is the dough that's going to go around the outside of the tamale. I do have my corn husks soaking in hot water so that they're nice and pliable. You need to do that for like 20 minutes and they'll be perfect. I did add some baking powder to my masa, which is just really finely ground cornmeal. But I added some baking powder to it. And then you're supposed to use beef broth, which I don't keep on hand. So I just went ahead and added my beef bouillon in there. It's wonderful flavor anyway. And we'll just add some water in a minute. Typically you want to use lard, but I was completely out. So I'm using Crisco, the butter flavored shortening, which is a fine substitution. It works the same. But I do think I prefer using lard. There wasn't much of a texture or taste difference, really. I just think I like it better the traditional way with lard. And then you start cutting in hot water. The hot water melts the lard. It kind of brings everything all together. You're going to get a nice crumbly dough like this. And that's how you know you're ready to add the next ingredient, which is sour cream. I know it sounds weird, but I've made it this way quite a few times with this particular recipe, and I really, really like it. So just get everything all incorporated really well. And then I like to set it off to the side for about 10 minutes while I get my meat ready to go. Again, I'm using my leftover brisket, but you could use, if you wanted to make like taco meat, that would be fine, or shredded chicken, shredded pork, roast, brisket like I'm using. Really any kind of meat will do. And then I just go ahead and kind of spread my my masa on the corn husk there. It's It's kind of hard to work with. I mean, it's a wet dough. I find it's just easier to spread it this way. I've worked with it with my hands before, but you have to constantly get them wet to kind of like mash it out. So I found that this was just a lot better. Now I do overfill mine with the meat. I knew I didn't have enough meat for another dish out of this, so I was kind of trying to use as much as I could. Technically, you should probably use about half the amount of meat that I have put on there. But you know, you only live once, so we're gonna go fully loaded with brisket. I went ahead and just rolled those up. It's pretty easy. Make sure you fold the tail up like that. And then I just kind of pile mine off to the side while I continue filling the rest of these tamales. I know that a lot of people think that tamales are intimidating, but they are so good. And I mean, it takes some time, but I don't think it takes that much longer than most of the other meals that I cook. It's not a 30-minute meal, but I mean, you could be done with these in an hour or so. It's not too bad. So I say if you like tamales, give this a shot. I'm linking all of the recipes that I used down below, except for the breakfast hash, because there's really not a recipe for that. Just throw in what you have. But it is a great way to use leftover meats. But I will go ahead and link this down below so that you can make these at home as well. Give it a shot. It's fun to do in the kitchen, and I really enjoy making these a couple of times every year. I like using pork roast for them, and I like using leftover brisket. That's my favorite ways to do them. So once I have them all rolled and folded, I'm heading over to my Ninja Foodi. You can steam these on your stovetop, which is what I used to do, but I'm going to do it in my Ninja. So I added some water in the bottom, and then I ended up using my air fryer basket because it's bigger than my steamer basket. And you can see I have the open end set up top on every one of those. That's very, very important. You want that opening to be up top. And then I just steamed it for about 30 minutes. And that's what they look like. The dough is nice and cooked. The meat is nice and tender. There's a couple that I took out of the corn husk wrapper, and they're ready to be eaten. Nice and delicious. The way I like to eat them was I poured some red enchilada sauce over the top and added some cheddar cheese. Rosa serves them this way if you get one of their meals that has a tamale with it, and I actually really, really like it. So that was tamales. All right, on to the last one. This is chimichangas. I've never made these before. This was my first time making like homemade chimichangas, but it went really, really well. My family liked them, so I would totally make these again. And I'm using ground beef. I just seasoned it taco style tonight. You can use any kind of meat you want though, chicken, beef, pork, whatever you have, and you can really put whatever fillings you want in here. It doesn't have to be what I'm using, but chimichangas are a fun way to use things up, and they're just kind of fun to eat. So I had some of those raw tortillas, so I par cooked them just about halfway. And now I'm gonna smear some refried beans on there first, and then I'm gonna top it with some taco meat. And then I'm gonna roll them up really, really well, nice and tightly, fold all the ends in and everything so it kind of stays together while you're frying it. And this one's really simple. This was my son's because he kind of just likes the beans and meat, and that's cool. Everybody likes them different, so like I said, you can put whatever you want on there. But you can see I folded those ends, rolled them up nice and tight. It's like a nice little package. For mine, I added a few extra ingredients. I did start with the refried beans on the bottom, and then I added some taco meat, but I also added green chili enchilada sauce, which is what I've opted to also top these with. And I also added some cheese because I know a lot of people like cheese on there. You could use diced jalapenos and onions would be delicious in here. You can really kind of put a ton of different things in there. We just really enjoy green chili sauce, and that's what we were using on top anyway. So I thought, well, why not? We'll add some inside as well. Every recipe that I saw, and I will link one down below, said that you just use regular flour tortillas, but my gut told me that I thought it would be better if I used the raw flour tortillas and just par cooked them. And these crisped up absolutely beautifully. They were light and they were airy, and they almost just melted in your mouth. It was the perfect texture. So I'm testing my oil there. I have maybe an inch. I like to stick a wooden skewer in there, and if it starts bubbling, you know your oil's ready to go. Just works with any kind of wood you have. So if you have like a bamboo spoon or anything like that, same trick will work. And then I placed them seam side down. One of them did start to unfold because I was not paying attention and keeping an eye on them. And when I realized it had done that, it was too late for me to fold it back under, but it didn't open up all the way, so it was fine. I'm using that bamboo skewer to help me flip these guys over as well. You can see that golden brown color. These were so crispy and beautiful and delicious. I absolutely adored the way they turned out. Just fry them on both sides until they're nice and golden like that. It doesn't take very long at all. The inside's totally cooked. This will melt the cheese. And that's about it. Everything else is nice and cooked and ready to go. I chose to top mine with green chili enchilada sauce and guacamole. You could top yours with anything you want to. You could do red sauce and lettuce and tomatoes and cheese. You could leave them bare and just dip them in some taco sauce. It really is up to you. This was just the way I felt like topping them tonight and eating them, and they were just absolutely delicious. So yummy and so good. Not necessarily healthy, but very, very satisfying and a great way to use up some leftover meats. I hope you guys enjoyed these recipes. Everyone used up some sort of leftover meat, so I hope that helps you guys in the kitchen somehow. I hope you are having a wonderful holiday season. Happy New Year, and I will see you guys back here in 2024. Bye.